Every day this week, major websites have been outmaneuvered and outmuscled by someone who wanted to take them down.
In January 2001, a 15-year-old boy known as Michael Kaus was charged for his role in a series of coordinated cyber attacks that resulted in an estimated $1.1 billion in damages. The teenage hacker created tools that helped him bring down the websites of multi-billion-dollar companies like Yahoo, eBay, Amazon, CNN, and Dell. But how did a high school student orchestrate such high-scale cyber attacks? Kaus was born in the West Island area of Montreal, Quebec. When he was 5 years old, his parents separated. After a lengthy legal battle, his mother won primary custody of Kaus, although he spent every second weekend at his father's condo. Kaus struggled with his parents' separation and felt isolated during his visits to his dad's place, so his father decided to buy him his own computer. Ever since he watched the screen light up in front of his face for the first time, he was obsessed with the digital world. The 6-year-old felt a sense of control that he lacked in his everyday life and loved to find ways to make his computer do everything from process commands to carry out the smallest functions. At 9 years old, he received a flat, square package with a CD inside. It was 1993 and from a company called AOL, America Online. The disc would give him the power to access the internet, games, and chat for free for 30 days. AOL was America's most recognized brands on the internet and provided dial-up service, pioneered instant message, and offered internet access. Dial-up was the old-fashioned way of accessing the internet through a telephone line. Kaus loaded the AOL CD and realized that he was no longer alone in the digital world. He discovered that there were other people like him out there, that they were fascinated by everything that could be achieved with a computer, and he was ready to find them. Within minutes of registering for his 30-day trial, Kaus was online. His sudden access to all these new technologies was overwhelming, and he didn't know where to start. First, he searched for games he could play online or download. Then, he checked out AOL's chat function and started exploring chat rooms.
An instigator, I would go into these chats on the AOL trial, making fun of everybody in the chat. And
most of them were dedicated to singles searching for love, something the 9-year-old couldn't relate to, so he went back to games. Kaus heard you could download versions of popular games for free, using Ware's a pirated software. He spent his time hunting for games to download and joined a few Ware's chat rooms, where he pretended to be an adult. One day, he was kicked out of a chat room and lost his AOL connection. With such a technical mind, Kaus needed to know how something like that could happen and logged back on to investigate.
Chat, and one guy came about and he's like, yeah, sorry, you need to go. And he did something at the time that was called a punt.
That was when he learned about punting. Punting was a way of booting people offline from chat rooms by sending them malicious instant messages with HTML code that overloaded their PCs and automatically signed them off. Some punters kept a list of every user they punted and would brag about it in chat rooms. Punters seemed to have the most power on AOL at the time, and Kaus was desperate to punt other users. The notion that an individual could attack someone else via the internet, no matter their geographic location, was a relatively new concept. To Kaus's young mind, it was harmless, like pranking or playing a practical joke on a friend. All that someone that was punted needed to do was sign back on and rejoin the chat. In his desperation to punt people, Kaus dove into the world of AOL hacking tools. He found a huge list of applications on one website and decided to download them all so he could learn their various functions. Soon, he believed that he was in control of the internet. Studying the tools to learn how they worked wasn't enough. Kaus needed to know about the people that created them. He met a lot of people on AOL, but he wanted to interact with the ones that wrote the programs. They were the ones that seemed to know all the necessary tricks and secrets to dominate the computer game. He felt more connected to these faceless programmers and online rebels than he did to anyone in his personal life. They were cyberspace's cool kids, and he wanted to be a part of their circle. But More than anything, he wanted to be a hacker. He utilized AOL, a program that manipulated AOL users into giving up their account information, and joined a group of hackers who helped him hone his skills. One of the early hackers groups that Kaus joined was the IWC, where he discovered the depths of power that hackers had. They could shut down a user's computer, steal personal information, erase data, disrupt credit reports, and build malicious tools. The IWC's leader, Dracus, became his mentor and taught him the intricacies of Internet Relay Chat, aka IRC networks, and how to compromise machines and networks by identifying and exploiting vulnerabilities through root access. These were basically the networks of instant messaging chat rooms across the internet. They specialized in trading pirated software, media, and games, but since most internet users relied on dial-up at the time, download speeds were extremely slow. High-speed broadband existed at the time, but only companies and universities used it. Since companies had stringent security, hackers targeted universities. If the IWC could get control of university servers, they would be able to siphon off their broadband and use high-speed downloading. Dracus assigned Kaus the task of running a hacking script to identify weaknesses in university servers to search for root access. Kaus spent hundreds of hours and many sleepless nights on this task. He stopped focusing on schoolwork and often caught up on sleep during class. Sometimes he'd even talk back to teachers or disrupt the other students. Soon, he gained control over more than 100 university servers. A few months into working with the IWC, Dracus suddenly vanished without a trace. Without someone in charge, the group scrambled to figure out how to operate. The group lost its backbone, and Kaus decided to leave. At the age of 13, he joined TNT Force, one of the world's elite hacking gangs. Kaus used the alias Mafia Boy, which was the name his brother used to illegally download music. He spent months learning and practicing on small targets before breaking to OutlawNet Inc., an internet service provider in Oregon that was operated by students at a high school. Kaus used their server to spoof his IP address and route himself through OutlawNet Inc. Spoofing an IP address allows hackers fraudulently using a different IP address to access the internet, so they look like they were coming from a trusted address. From there, he could enter an IRC chat room and make it appear that he was connected from wherever he wanted, and the OutlawNet server also gave him a place to cover his tracks. He hacked multiple university networks and used their combined computing power to attack outside websites. Kaus was becoming an expert at DDoS attacks. DDoS attacks happen when the attacker floods a server with fake internet traffic. This overwhelms the server's devices, services, and network, making them inaccessible for users, so the website gets taken down. The attacks are difficult to identify because they cause everyday issues like slow upload or download speeds, dropped internet connections, unusual media or content, and/or an excessive amount of spam. Kaus got bored of using other hackers' tools and decided to create his own. His goal was to work with fellow hackers to build his own DDoS tool and establish dominance in the cyber world. Kaus and his hacking group spent the following months developing their tool to work with Kaus's compromised machines on various networks. The Project Revolta attack would cause the server to break off from the IRC network. You would then log on to the disconnected IRC server, take control over it, and make yourself an operator. Once the server rejoined the IRC, it would let you keep your operator status. If a channel was empty, the server would automatically grant the first-person operator status, so you could pretty much become an operator for all of the channels on that server. This is basically how you would create new channels from scratch. But it could also be used as a loophole for taking over channels. They completed their testing and were ready to test it on a major, well-known target. On February 7, 2000, when Kaus was still in high school, he launched his first DDoS attack on Yahoo, a multi-billion-dollar company and, at the time, the world's top search engine. The attack shut down their website for an hour. A day later, a different hacker shut down Buy.com, which Kaus believed was someone challenging him and suggesting that anyone could do what he did at Yahoo's website. Now it was a contest. On February the 8th, Kaus launched an even bigger attack on eBay's website. He chatted with his fellow hackers to identify the next company they would bring down. Someone mentioned CNN, but another user suggested it would be impossible because of the news organization's advanced networks. Kaus took this as a challenge. He shut down CNN's website and shortly after took down Dell's as well. After people on the IRC chats noted that one website was down, he would push them to suggest which one he should do next. Users mentioned Amazon.com, which was easy for Kaus to take down. News broke of a wave of hacker attacks that resulted in damages of $1.2 billion and rising. Nobody knew when and where he would strike next, and he had to be stopped. Although Amazon and eBay may be big today, the largest of these attacks was on CNN, and this led to Mafia Boy getting caught. You see, CNN was not an independent website. It was connected to thousands of other websites, so it was a major blow on thousands of websites which the federal government couldn't ignore. Undercover agents from the FBI and Canadian police searched IRC chat rooms and identified Mafia Boy as their top suspect, because Mafia Boy couldn't help but brag that he caused all of the attacks. So the search was on to put a name and location to Mafia Boy. Agents first found an account under the name Mafia Boy, registered to an internet service provider located in Canada. Data from the Dell attack also pointed to Montreal in Canada, so it was now certain that Mafia Boy was located in Canada. The police executed warrants for Delphi Supernet and TotalNet in Montreal. These were two internet service providers linked to Mafia Boy accounts, which were connected to the spoofing of OutlawNet. They found a telephone number and address in the TotalNet account, which was the same details that was connected to the attacks on OutlawNet. After monitoring his house for a few days, investigators linked Kaus to the attacks and eventually arrested him. Kaus initially denied any involvement in the attacks. His lawyers argued that Kaus was running unsupervised tests to help companies with their cybersecurity. However, the evidence indicated otherwise. The Montreal Youth Court sentenced Kaus to 8 months in a youth detention centre, 1 year of probation, restricted internet usage, and a fine of $1,000. In response to the hacks, President Clinton called for a voluntary, industry-led coalition devoted to coordinating information on computer hacking. After completing his sentence, Kaus pivoted from hacking company networks to identifying security flaws in their systems and identifying better security features. He started Optimal Secure, a cybersecurity company focused on performing penetration testing for local companies in the financial sector in Montreal, Toronto, and Vancouver. Many credit Kaus, the 15-year-old that rendered the world's largest websites inaccessible, with the push for increased cybersecurity that took place over the next decade.